Early in my career, early 30-ish, I had a wonderful opportunity to travel to Malawi, Southeast Africa. And there I was working on HIV prevention. My work was going to be to look at culture, the context, and I was really there to try to help. I didn't know anything about Malawi, but I really thought that somebody needed to do something, and I was willing to go. The project was a huge success. I got to spend a lot of time there meeting people, learning about HIV prevention. And 2 years into the work, when we were close to finishing, this one particular day, we were in a village, a rural town, and I had spent 6 months raising funds for this village to provide food, supplies, and some activities for the kids. And the entire village was there. And I had this moment of complete achievement. I thought, 6 months of hard work to distribute this food was so worth it to be standing here this day. I was happy, they were happy, and I was so proud of myself, of what I'd accomplished with the help of a team. And each child came, I gave them crayons and paper. That was the simple activity that we could manage and afford in transport on the plane and those kinds of logistics. I had to think very creatively about everything that we did in Malawi. Would the crayons melt? Would the papers survive? All kinds of little things. And again, what could we afford for this community? All the kids took the crayons and the paper, and everyone was happy. And one little boy, about 7 years old, came up and he smiled at me and he looked me right in the eyes. He wouldn't take the paper and the crayons. I thought, okay, what's going on here? And I didn't pay it much attention. And he came back and he followed me around for about 5 to 10 minutes. So I showed him, this is how you draw paper, crayon, da, 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 da. He still would not take the paper and the crayons, but he definitely wanted to engage because he was looking at me and he was following me. People around me said, just ignore him. He can't hear and he can't speak. And I didn't think much about it. I was still in my glory, thinking about what an accomplishment I had created. And this little boy, about 7 years old, came back. He had something in his hand, and he opened his fist, and he had sculpted a design of an animal out of the mud and presented it to me. And the world went silent, and I couldn't hear in that moment. My heart pounded. I wasn't in Malawi to show anybody anything. That little boy was teaching me. So he had more talent, more creativity, and more ability than paper and crayon. He could sculpt with the mud that stood around at his feet. And he was presenting it to me. And I tell you in all honesty, it was an ugly little thing. And it's worn for wear over the years. Some legs dropped off and some ears and some pieces because I handle it. I was so grateful that he gave me this gift. And his creativity, his possibility was handed in that gift. I wasn't there to show him. He was there to teach me something. And in that moment when the world went silent and I couldn't hear anything, I just had the gift in my hand and we were staring at each other. I was surprised. And as I walked back to my table, the surprise was I was so shocked at that gift because I didn't expect anything from that little boy. And that hurt me. How is it that I could spend 2 years working in a country and be so proud of myself, value my creativity, but somehow that little boy wasn't worthy of creativity? My expectations of him were so low, I was shocked by the gift. And I got to sit alone and really ponder what my work was going to be. Why is it that I would be shocked at a gift? Why is it that I couldn't expect something from that little boy, from that community, from that country to help themselves with HIV prevention? What was wrong with this? And Natalie Burke will talk about no shame and no blame, because this prejudice that I had for the country, for the rural setting, for this little boy, is just a bias that we have. And I chose that day to do something about that bias and not let it perpetuate. I told the little boy and I told the community that I would keep that gift with me always, and I have. It has really defined my career and how I relate to community. This wasn't a little 7-year-old boy. He became my child. That town became my village, and Malawi became my country. There was a connection there, and we've heard a lot about connection tonight. I was connected. I loved that boy. I loved the work, and I could see the human potential in him and everyone there to find the solutions for their own problems. I could help. I could be an ally. I can assist. But my job is going to be a catalyst for self-discovery and community discovery, because we keep missing what's in our plain sight. Yes, there was a critical HIV and AIDS problem in Africa, but there was also hope, potential, creativity, ability, talents, imagination, and possibility beyond what I could ever dream of. And my job now is to untap that, find that, and use it. It's hard to describe up here for you what that feels like, to have that that awareness all at once, but it hit me as I looked at the gift and I looked at the boy and I thought about the work that I'd been doing. But the idea that I am a catalyst for self-discovery in others just never left me. I could not see America in the same way after that day in Malawi. The first thing I did when I got back to Chicago was to work with kids. And this work is hard because I can't ask a child what their situation is, what their creativity and their talents is, because I don't even have the words, right? This is possibility and imagination beyond me. So I have to create a context to find that. And one way in public health that we do that is a project and a methodology called Photo Voice. And some of you may be familiar with it. And we hand cameras to kids, and they get the opportunity to take the photos that matter to them and describe it to us and tell us. So the next set of photos are those of the children in Chicago who are living in low-income neighborhoods, who have their own tragedies and their own barriers to deal with and their own crosses to bear. But keep in mind, I didn't come to Chicago seeing the community as a collection of challenges. I came to Chicago with a sense of finding and discovering where the hope was. And the best place to find that is with the kids. So this picture is a street-littered walkway that a child takes to go to school. He's looking behind his shoulders, and there's worry there every day walking to school. The crime, the bullying, and the conflicts happen on the way to school and from returning to school. So this 7-year-old is a little worried. But the pictures aren't about the challenges in school and the challenges on the street. The pictures are about what he can do to fix it. He sees a problem and he wants to be part of that solution. Another child took a picture of the abandoned homes that he walks by. And he says, the house makes this community look bad. And if they fixed it up, this place would be better. Our children in the neighborhood where I work in Chicago, they have to choose to go into a store, decide whether I should go into this store where somebody was shot or walk on by when they want a snack. I don't have to do that. In my neighborhood, I never have to question the safety of going into a store to pick up a snack. But our 7-year-olds in Chicago, those are the decisions that they're thinking about. And they wrote about this. The children, as I said, also talked about how they can be part of the solution and what they wanted to do to fix the community. And early on in my time in Chicago, they recognized there was a need for healthy food. And this is a group of 18 to 24-year-olds who were willing to work to grow food so that the community could have access to it. At the time, I didn't know how to grow food. I wasn't even eating healthy myself, but this is what the youth wanted. And we were able to create that opportunity by partnering with people who were willing to invest in this community and in these kids. So we didn't ask what their backgrounds were or what their experience were. We wanted to create and invest in the opportunities that were already there, the potential that the kids have that we keep missing. Yes, there's problems, and yes, access to food is an issue, but there's also an army full of young people willing to change that, and we just open the doors. Our first garden, which is featured here, was built from an empty patch of grass, and in 6 weeks, we had people stopping by to come and check out the garden, check out the youth. Then other schools and other organizations started to build gardens too. And it was a sign of hope for this community that something good could grow here. And guess what? Our youth that we've been calling the problem are the ones creating it. In 2012, we had lost 2 businesses, a farmer's market that we had worked on for 5 years, and a grocery store that didn't last 18 months in the community. Pretty negative situation that really hit the community hard. But with the mindset that I'd learned in Malawi from that 7-year-old, it didn't stop us. It didn't slow us down one bit. We took those 2 losses and kept on going. Today, we have 7 gardens and 3 businesses in Maywood, built from that one garden, built by those kids. And it's the mindset that this community is worth investing and that there are assets, opportunities, and talents right there for us to take advantage of. I'll be talking about the businesses that we have and that we've created from this one urban agriculture opportunity. I wish my partner were here today. Her name is Loretta Brown, and the 2 figures on the left are she and I, and we met together with this commitment that our community could create something more and that our children were worth more of an investment in the transformation. She very single-handedly has organized over 500 people and organizations in the community to do the work of healthy food environments and active living. Loretta, 80% of all of this was done by her with a team that she helped supervise. She's in the middle. Went to organizations, schools, churches, businesses with letters, knocking doors. And in the first year, she was able to bring 200 people to clean up that same street you saw that had the litter. In the first year, we had 200 people. And in the second year, she had 500 people. Guess what her amazing public health strategy was? She just asked, would you come and have a cleanup day in the community? And everybody said yes, and everybody came. They were willing to invest in the hope and the opportunity to students and not being afraid of the trauma that we have. This community was now worth their investment and their time. And we had people who were upset that they didn't get asked, actually. So this tremendous Village Pride Day is going to be an annual event. The small garden that we started led to a farm stand that was donated by a business leader, the third business that we talked about. He donated that land to the kids because he was across the street from there. He said, here's the land, use it as you will. The food from that garden, grown by our students, is brought into the schools to promote healthy eating. It's created dishes of salsa to support the healthy catering business. So that food and those kids are circulating the economic growth in the community in a really short while, just by the potential of creativity. This is the healthy catering business, Mujeres Unidas. This is a group of women, 5 women who came together to invest in themselves and the community. And they created a business by saving up and donating their time and using the food from the garden. Now, you may be thinking, this community is special and the people there are unusual. But the reality is this opportunity, the abundance of human potential is in every single one of us. Every single volunteer, every single person in this room. And we've been able to connect to a global organization called 100 Million Healthier Lives who are doing the exact same thing, partnering in unprecedented collaboration with the people living in low-income communities. And we're learning and connecting and sharing our successes together, all across the country. So I leave you with this thought. Have you asked and questioned where your human potential is? And are you using it with the youth in your community today? Thank you.